if you ask me something about the humans' behavior inside of this ecology, and I say, oh, well, it depends on the context.
Right.
What it seems like you're saying is, well, that's me not taking the time to say, well, what is the relationship between the human and the ecology, taking into account these other identities, these other relationships, the grouping in and of itself and the interdependencies.
Sure. And you might even say, we have to add history here because humans have a history and they relate to history and something else, right? Financial gain or, whatever. And so they relate to that. Okay, that's a fair criticism that something's missing in your analysis, that something's missing in the system that you haven't considered. That's a fair criticism. But just simply taking this sort of lazy baggage, this lazy suitcase that has wheels because it's so big, and it's gonna, and calling it context and setting it off to the side like it's something and not unpacking it and realizing that it's actually perhaps here in front of us, or perhaps some missing items that need to be added,
right? Or
missing relationships or missing perspectives or missing whatever. That's a fair criticism. It kind of is a lazy way of criticizing, or it's a lazy way of throwing up barriers to ideas.
You're right. You're like brushing a lot of the problem.
Yeah.
You're brushing a lot of the variables that could help you solve the problem under a rug.
A suitcase, yeah.
Or a suitcase with wheels. The other thing is, it seems like when people purposefully pull things out of context.
Yes.
There's a reason they're doing that.
That's absolutely right. And that works the same in reverse. So the same people who kind of use the context as a battle axe, they will criticize reductionism. Well, what is reductionism? Well, reductionism is taking this relationship completely out of context, right? Yeah. So they take it and they put it over here, right? And then they say something about this relationship that is true if you're just out here, but when you put it back in its context, it conflicts with certain other things that you might say about it.
But that's a trick to get people to focus only on the thing you want them to focus on.
Yeah.
And you actually don't want them to see the full picture.
Yeah, or it's not always like
duplicitous,
right? I mean, a lot of research is done this way, and we criticize this all the time in the research domain, that a lot of research is done in this very X causes Y experimental paradigm, and then we conclude things that are generalizable back to multiple contexts, and you're like, well, not really. You essentially surgically removed this little barbell, this little relationship between X and Y. You surgically removed it from its context. And I'm being very specific about what its context is, right? You removed it from its context, and then you say something about it, or you prove something about it. And that is another form of sort of the reverse of ignoring context, right? So there's ignoring context, and then there's bringing context in as an unpacked luggage that sort of just gets in the way of real communication and real synthesis and analysis, or thinking, real thinking.